Ford and General Motors both knew this part was going to fail before they sold it to you, not after. They let millions of trucks roll off the line with a transmission they already knew was a ticking time bomb. Somewhere between 40 and 80,000 miles, it starts shaking, slipping, jerking. Then it dies. And when it dies, you're not paying $200. You're paying $6,000 or more. If you drive a Ford with the 10-speed automatic, or a Chevy or GMC with the 8-speed or 10-speed, do not skip this video. By the end, you'll know exactly what's wrong, why it's happening, and what both companies have been doing in court to avoid paying for it. Let's start with Ford. In 2017, Ford rolled out the 10R80, a 10-speed automatic. And here's the twist nobody talks about. It was co-developed with General Motors. Ford and GM literally worked on this transmission together. So whatever flaw shows up in one company's version, don't be shocked when it shows up in the others too. Ford put the 10R80 in the F-150, the Expedition, the Mustang, the Ranger, and the Lincoln Navigator. On paper, 10-speed sounds amazing. More gears, smoother power, better fuel economy. In reality, owners started reporting the opposite almost immediately. Harsh shifting, jerking between gears, clunking, and the scary one, sudden loss of power while accelerating. Right when you're merging onto a highway, right when you're pulling into an intersection. Owners didn't just complain once. They went to dealerships. They filed reports with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Ford's response: software updates. Multiple technical service bulletins starting in March of 2018, all blaming adaptive learning. The official story was that the transmission needed time to learn your driving style. But owners kept feeling the same jerking years later. After multiple software flashes, after warranty repairs, after doing everything Ford told them to do. If a transmission still shifts like a bucking horse after 3 years and 5 repair attempts, that's not a learning curve. That's a defect. By 2022, lawsuits started landing in federal court. One in Michigan, covering F-150, Mustang, and Ranger owners. One in California, covering Expedition and Navigator owners who said their SUVs could suddenly surge or lurch without warning. Then in July 2023, another class action hit in Florida. This one named the Expedition, Mustang, Ranger, F-150, and Navigator together. The claim? Ford knew about the problem and refused to actually replace the units, choosing software patches instead. Ford fought back hard. In March 2024, a federal judge dismissed most of one case on a technicality. The plaintiffs hadn't taken their trucks to the dealer specifically for this complaint, which made it hard to prove a warranty breach. That looked like a win for Ford. But in January 2026, a separate class action covering 2017 through 2020 F-150 trucks survived dismissal in front of a different judge. Which means right now, today, there is active litigation against Ford tied directly to F-150 transmission defects. So if your truck is shifting harsh, hesitating, clunking, you are not imagining it. This is a documented pattern going back to 2017. And it's still being fought over in court right now. And it's not just one or two unlucky owners. Go look at the actual complaints filed with NHTSA, and you'll see the same language repeating over and over. Drivers saying the truck hesitated for a full second or two before finally lurching forward. Drivers saying they felt a hard clunk going from park into drive. Drivers saying the truck downshifted on its own at highway speed for no reason. When hundreds of strangers across different states describe the exact same failure in almost the exact same words, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Now let's talk about GM. Because honestly, their version might be worse. It's been dragging on even longer. GM's problem has a nickname. Owners call it the Chevy Shake. It lives inside the 8L45 and 8L98 speed automatics. Found in the Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, Escalade, and even some Camaros. Mostly trucks built between 2015 and 2019. Drivers describe it like getting rear-ended at a stoplight, except it's coming from inside their own truck. Shuddering, slipping, hesitating. Some drivers reported nearly losing control because the power delivery became completely unpredictable. The root cause? The torque converter. Not enough transmission fluid was reaching the right spot inside it, which created excess friction on the clutch material. That friction is the shudder you feel. GM's first move, back in 2019, was a technical service bulletin. Drain the old fluid. Replace it with an updated formula. For some owners, it worked. Temporarily. For a lot of others, the shudder came back. Often right after the powertrain warranty expired. Which made people furious, understandably. The legal fight here is messy. Two major cases running side by side. Speerly versus General Motors. And Ulrich versus General Motors. In March 2023, a judge granted class action status covering roughly 800,000 trucks and SUVs. Massive win for owners. Then GM appealed. In 2025, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed that class certification. Sent it back down for further review. That doesn't mean the case is dead. It means the court is now deciding whether smaller subclasses can be certified instead of one giant nationwide class. Meanwhile, the Ulrich case has had different momentum. A federal judge in Michigan rejected GM's attempt to throw it out completely. So it's still moving forward. Wins and losses on both sides. But the bottom line never changed. The shudder is real. It's documented across years of complaints. And the legal system has not let GM make this disappear. Scroll through any Silverado or Sierra owners forum, and you'll see the same story play out again and again. Someone posts that their truck started shuddering around 30 or 40,000 miles. The dealer does the fluid exchange. It feels fine for a while. Then a year or two later, right after the warranty runs out, the shudder comes back, sometimes worse than before. Then someone replies saying the exact same thing happened to them. Then another person. Then another. That thread isn't an outlier. That thread is basically the lawsuit, written in real time, by the people actually living it. Here's the part that should really bother you. GM kept selling vehicles with this same transmission family for years after the shudder became a known issue. Even as they moved into newer 10-speed units and updated 8 speeds, owners kept reporting versions of the same shudder. Sell first, quietly patch later. Sound familiar? That's the exact same playbook Ford ran with the 10 R80. So why does this keep happening at two of the biggest truck makers in the country? It comes down to fuel economy pressure. More gears means better mileage numbers on paper. 6 speeds, 8 speeds, 10 speeds. But more gears means more complexity. More components that have to shift perfectly under every condition. More chances for something inside that gearbox to be just slightly out of tolerance. When you manufacture millions of these, a small flaw doesn't stay small. It becomes a billion-dollar problem spread across an entire fleet. And both companies' first move was never, let's replace the part. It was, let's update the software, or let's change the fluid. Sometimes that helps. But when owners keep reporting the exact same symptoms years later, after multiple repairs, that tells you the real problem is sitting in the hardware, not in the code. Software can mask a mechanical flaw for a while. It cannot fix one. Before we get into what to actually do about it, let's go through the warning signs, so you know exactly what to listen and feel for the next time you're behind the wheel. Number 1. A delay when you shift from park into drive or reverse. If there's a noticeable pause before the truck actually engages, followed by a clunk, that's a red flag. Number 2. Shuddering or shaking, specifically in the 30 to 45 mile per hour range, almost like you're driving over rumble strips on a smooth road. Number 3. Hesitation when you press the gas to accelerate, especially merging onto a highway, where the truck takes a beat too long to respond before it finally takes off. Number 4. Random downshifts at cruising speed, where the engine suddenly revs higher for no reason you did. Number 5. Any kind of jerk or lunge when the transmission shifts between gears, especially around 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear. If you've felt even 2 of these, it's worth getting your transmission looked at now, before it turns into a $6,000 repair bill. So if you currently own a Ford with the 10R80, or a GM truck with the 8L45, 8L90, or a newer 10-speed, here's what to actually do. Document everything. Every shudder, every jerk, every hesitation. Write down the date, the mileage, what you were doing. Take it to the dealer every single time it happens. Even if you think they'll brush you off. You need that paper trail. Check if your VIN falls inside the affected model years named in these lawsuits. If a settlement happens, you'll want to know if you qualify. And before you spend $6,000 on a full transmission replacement, get a second opinion from an independent transmission specialist. Sometimes what gets quoted as a full replacement is actually just a torque converter or valve body issue. costs a fraction of the price. Here's the bigger lesson. When you're shopping for a used truck or deciding whether to keep the one you already have, the transmission generation and model year matter just as much as the engine. A 2018 F-150 with the 10R80 is a completely different ownership experience than a 2021 with updated software and revised internals. Same logic for Silverados and Sierras before and after that 2019 fluid update. 5 extra minutes of research can save you from inheriting someone else's $6,000 problem. If breakdowns like this help you, the kind where we skip the marketing and go straight to what's actually happening in dealerships, forums, and courtrooms, drop a comment and tell me which truck you're driving and whether you've felt any of this yourself. And if you're trying to decide between a Ford and a GM truck right now, I've got another video comparing them head to head. Go watch that next.